Slough in the UK is renowned to be one of the worst places to live in the entirety of the United Kingdom. That isn't even up for debate. However, there's another place which is very misunderstood, and that is the city of Mostar and the country of Bosnia. Now, today we're going to be comparing two extremely different places, but they share the one similarity of they're both misunderstood. Join me today as I talk you through my personal experiences visiting both firsthand for you. Let's go. We're going to be using 4 criteria today to compare the two different cities in the two different countries. They're going to be as follows. Number 1, appearance. Does it look nice to walk around? Number 2, safety. Are the crime rates low? Are the crime rates high? And what is it actually like for a tourist to look around? And number 3, the friendliness. Which place has the better people? Which one welcomes you in? Which one has the best hospitality? And number 4, the cost of living, the one you've probably been waiting for. As we know, the UK is bloody expensive. Wages are higher than Bosnia though, so we've got to keep that into account. But how much does a meal cost in Bosnia? Should you visit Bosnia? Should you visit Slough? Probably not. But with that, let's get into the video. Firstly, we're going to go for appearance. Now, let's start off with pulling off the plaster of Slough. It is being ranked as one of the most ugly places in the entirety of the UK. It's one of those new towns that were built shortly after World War II. As a result of that, you've got these horrible, brutalist architecture buildings. And that raises the question, of course, because Bosnia was in the former Yugoslavia, it was a communist country behind the Iron Curtain, as some would like to put Yugoslavia behind. Does that have brutalist architecture buildings? Yeah, of course it does. So that's a similarity between the two. The one thing that changes it very differently and very drastically is one thing, and that is the beautiful Ottoman side of Mostar. On the western side of the river, you've got the Croatian side. There's Catholic churches, it's very interesting to see, but there's another side, which is the Ottoman, Muslim, Bosnian side. And in the center, there's a lovely Ottoman area. And that's got the old bridge. It got destroyed during the war, where it got bombed between the Croats and the Bosnians when they were fighting over the city of Mostar. You've got to remember the front line literally went through the city, through the very city of that town. Now, what are the main differences between the two? The centre of Mostar is very beautiful. The outskirts, like with many places in the former Yugoslavia, is a little bit run down, let's be honest. It's one of the poorest countries in all of Europe. Now, comparing that to Slough, it's also a very run-down place. But you would think, well, comparing it to Bosnia, a first world country, the UK, that's got to be richer. That's what a lot of people would say. But I will say this, you're walking around and you're looking at the appearance of Slough, the amount of litter is absolutely staggering. In some parts of the town more than others, it's pretty bad, to be honest. Whereas in Mostar, I didn't see one single piece. And maybe that's for better, maybe that's for worse. And I mean that is by you looking around Bosnia and there are the remnants of the war. You've got the bullet holes, of course, in the walls, and it's a big open air museum. It's very sad to see, but it's also very interesting to see from a tourist perspective just what's happened to that poor country. On the other hand, Slough, it's a country that's been dealt a decently good hand, I would say. Things have gone bad, you know, due to COVID, for example, due to Brexit, a few other bits and bobs, but we've been dealt a much better hand than Bosnia. We don't know how lucky we are, and we've thrown it all away, to be honest, by letting basically shitholes like Slough, let's face it, just exist. There just isn't the investment that there used to be in those towns. They were built, probably looks okay back in the day, and then they're left to rot, and I don't think the locals even care too much about it. Hopefully I've misunderstood that, but it just seems the Bosnians have a little bit more pride in what they're doing. You can see all the rejuvenation projects, building stuff everywhere in Bosnia. In the UK, to an extent you can, but in Slough, I didn't see too much going on. It was more decay than rejuvenation, and for that, I have to give Bosnia the win in terms of appearance. Next up, we've got a super easy win. I'm going to tell you right away who wins it. It's Bosnia, of course. It's friendliness. UK people aren't that bad. You can find some really friendly people here, but generally people are quite shy. People don't really talk too much. I mean, if you say hi to somebody on a dog walk, they might say hi back. 60% of the time they usually do. But in terms of like small talk and stuff, people don't really do too much here. And I think it's just because people are quite shy, people are quite reserved. It doesn't mean they're necessarily bad-hearted. I mean, I've worked in customer service and sales for most of my life, and I've had some pretty nasty run-ins with customers and all sorts. Let's be honest, I'll leave it up to your imagination to sort of feel what people have said and all of that stuff. But nonetheless, comparing it to Bosnia is very, very different. In Bosnia, as a tourist, in particular if you speak English, it's just a different experience. You try to speak their language, and usually when you do that, you get a lot more love. People do react quite nicely when you do try and learn a few words in their language, right? But in Bosnia, it was a lot different. People were reacting better when you said hello in English. So there's obviously quite some decent hospitality there. Most of the people I spoke to, they smiled, or even just walking down the street, or if they're driving past, people would just say hi to you. I remember buying currency. This was an old Yugoslavian souvenir shop. It was fascinating, and I befriended the guy there. I brought some I brought some Yugoslavian dinars there. And essentially the guy just gave me, I think it was Tajikistan rubles for free, just as a gift. So super nice guy, very friendly people, always smiling. It was like the hotel owner, the homestay owner, should I say. He just dropped me off in town to go to an ATM purely because I needed to get the bus on the way home. Like, he was such a nice guy. You just wouldn't get that same hospitality at a travel lodge, would you? So yeah, easy win. Bosnia, one of the friendliest countries I've ever been to. Probably in the top 5 in Europe, maybe even in the top 3 in Europe. Next up, we've got the cost of living. Now, it's very obvious that Bosnia will be cheaper, but of course we need to take into account the wages are a hell of a lot lower in Bosnia, so it probably evens out overall. However, let me talk you through the different prices so you can compare if you were thinking about visiting either Slough for whatever reason, or Bosnia for whatever reason. Now, when you go to Bosnia, there's 2 different sides. You've got the semi-touristy side and the local side. When you go to the local side of Bosnia, you can get a meal for £3. You know, it's a similar price to Serbia. You can get a meal for £3. A beer can cost as little as £1 as well. It is very, very reasonable. Now, supermarkets are even cheaper. I remember getting a beer for 1.5 Bosnian marks. Yes, they use the mark still, which is pretty badass if you ask me. Now, you're going down there, you're looking at the supermarkets. 1.5 marks, by the way, is literally like 70p, probably even less for a can of beer. So very, very reasonable, very, very cheap. You can get a sandwich from a supermarket for literally 80p as well. So it's super reasonable in Bosnia, it's very cheap. Saying that, you go into that old town of Mostar. I can't speak for Sarajevo, I wish I went there. I'm definitely going to go back there and make another video. Check out my Mostar video, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet. But the old town is fairly expensive. You can get one of the worst quality pizzas I've had in my life, and it cost me €7, which is still cheap as chips for the UK. But the quality was terrible, I'm not gonna lie. But what do you expect? You're in the tourist centre. The ladies that run the place, they were really sweet, they were really nice. We had some lovely Bosnian tea, some Bosnian coffee. Very similar to the Turkish stuff if you're interested. There's definitely a lot of overlapping culture, which is what makes Bosnia very interesting. So Bosnia is very cheap. Now in Slough, to be honest, I just got a meal deal and it cost £3.60. It's one of those things that they're just raising the price to. So it's pretty hard for me to compare the cost of a meal deal to an actual sit-down meal in a restaurant that cost me £3. But the fact that a sit-down meal costs less than a bloody sandwich and a Coke in the UK says all you need to know. Now, in comparison to the wages of Bosnia, maybe it evens out a little bit. So we can't give this a big win to Bosnia, but I need to remember most of my viewers are English and they're probably watching this from a tourist perspective rather than I'm going to move to Bosnia to live. And because of that, I'm going to have to say that Bosnia takes the win for this one again. And lastly, we've got the safety between the 2 countries. Now, Bosnia has had an incredibly tough hand. It's had a very dark past. As I previously said, Mostar, the city I went to, used to be a war zone, and you can still see the remnants of that today. Watch the video to find out more. It's in the description of this video. But nonetheless, there's a literal abandoned sniper tower covered, riddled in sniper bullets, and it does give you that sense that, oh, maybe I'm in a war zone, maybe it's in an unsafe area. And there are literal landmines on the paths, which I can't say for this walk I'm going on in the UK. I don't think there's going to be any landmines here. So, is it safe? Yes and no. In terms of crime rate, it is a very safe place. don't get me wrong, I felt completely safe walking around at night. If I was a woman, I'd feel just as safe, to be honest, walking around at night. There's no bloody grooming gangs like in the UK. It's a decent place, the people are warm-hearted and very friendly. However, let's keep into account this is the most landmine country in all of Europe, so you've got to watch your step. One of the videos I made in Mostar was me hiking to this abandoned Austro-Hungarian fortress just in the mountains in 36 degrees heat. It was absolutely brutal, but we physically had to watch our steps, because there were just landmines everywhere. And we didn't know exactly where they were, but from our research, there's over 200,000 landmines in Bosnia, in particular the area we were in. So there'll be a picket fence basically just saying, warning landmines, but you can easily just stumble off the path. And these are the ones that people know about, so there's probably even more that people don't know about. And I think because of that, I'm gonna have to say Slough, it doesn't have landmines, but there are arson attacks. So I think I'm gonna have to put them about even. Take them with a pinch of salt. You'll be fine if you're street smart in Slough, to be honest. It's not the worst place, it's better than Luton, it's better than London, but it's definitely a lot worse than other places in the UK, and it has got a higher crime rate than Mostar. But because of the landmines, I'm gonna have to put them on the same level, so it's gonna be a tie. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I'm sure you might have a similar opinion to me, but if you don't, I also want to hear it. See you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.